about this Ulster side. They've won 3 out of 5, and they've beaten Connacht and a very poor Clonettley side. And if we wanted, as somebody who are objectively looking at Ulster, to say, yeah, there's a revival, or your word, a renaissance, I don't know whether that popped into your head or whether there's just been going round.
Well, it's just the fact that we saw them down the dumps for 2 seasons, and now they're even winning European Cup matches.
Well, but it's a bit like the recession. Everybody's sort of seeing green shoots all over the place when it's actually, in fact, not happening. So we would have said, yeah, objectively, we'll take Ulster seriously if they'd gone off and beaten Edinburgh in Edinburgh, in the Heineken Cup, and they didn't. And they were in fact, they were well beaten in the end. And if we want to take them seriously, they've got to beat Leinster or produce a very, very good performance.
Okay, what about Paddy Wallace's absence tonight? Obviously, this is the IRFU player management agreement in practice. I think, Liam, means that agreement means he has to play next week, is that right?
Well, there's a certain amount of games he can play, and he can come off the bench once. I think it's a crying shame. What Neil touched on a little earlier on is very interesting. Can you artificially make this a de facto trial? Paddy Wallace is a guy you'd love to see against Gordon Darcy. Although Gordon Darcy's rotated last week, he's still, obviously, that's a great defence against Davies, obviously. His confidence is growing and growing. What we would like to see, and I'm sure what the public would like to see, is that matchup. And it's a terrible travesty that it isn't, because they need to measure each other off it.
What's the point? What will Declan Kidley learn from Wallace playing against Lefemi Maffey or De Villiers next week? What he needed to know was how he'd play against Darcy this evening.
What's the thinking? Just to make him match sharp, is it? To make Wallace match sharp?
Well, I don't know how much. I don't think he's been playing that many matches. I haven't seen him play at all this season.
Yeah, but what's the rule, Liam? Is it six games out of 9?
If you're a Lion, it's 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, and if you're an international, it's 6 and 1. So basically you've 9 games, and that you can select out of what, but they have to be rested in a certain fashion.
We get our heads.
I'd love to be playing now. This would suit me. It'd be right down my street.
But you use rest actually while you were playing. This is a slight difference.
This is enforced rest. Yeah, slightly different. All right. Yeah, Falloon has been, we just seem to be able to produce back row forwards at will, whatever about front rows and hookers at the moment in particular. But he's yet another person. Be a long shot, but he could muscle his way into Declan Kidney's thinking, given what's happened to Shane Jennings, etc.
Yeah, he more or less came from. I mean, the guy I always had my eye on was Pollock, and he's a long-term injury. So Falloon, I think highlights packages can be deceptive. He scored a couple of tries and he made a couple of good bursts and whatever else. But I think over the 80 minutes, I still don't think he's quite good enough even to get into the A squad at this time. And tonight is, I think O'Brien certainly at this stage is a better bet than him. But this is what's happening. Like we're at a final Irish trial. I don't know. One of the points I would like to make, and I think with the significance of people coming in from outside, because this is an Irish trial, I don't think there should be anybody who's non-Irish qualified. I think there should be purely Irish players playing in these domestic. Now, sometimes it mightn't suit the coaches there, but I'd like to see Irish players against Irish players in particularly the big matches, Munster, Leinster, so you drop De Villiers and you drop Lefemi Maffey and you put Irish qualified guys in to play in these matches.
On the cases.
Yeah, that's what we would have expected Ulster to do. So at the moment, I'm just wondering what Leinster were doing. They obviously have been told strategically not to kick, because it seemed to be the obvious thing to do. Defensively, the back three, Ulster's back three, seem to be hogging the touchline. So any kind of downtown kicks are going to go dead. So
let's take a look at Ulster's tactics. I mean, in action, and just in terms of, it can be a dangerous game. You need to be on your mettle to recycle it through phase after phase in conditions like this, but they've done it so effectively. I think Leinster are the far superior team here, and unfortunately for Ulster, they can go 6 or 7, and they were gain lining, but they weren't strong enough or confident enough to keep the phases going in horrible conditions. So, but the tight 5 are doing a reasonable job. Like we've said, I think the boys are sort of saying the Leinster front foot is just a little bit too passive, and they're giving up just fairly cheap yards there, where they could actually end the phases there with a very devastating tackle after 1 or 2 phases, and they're not doing it. But there is
Ulster know these are their conditions. This is a distinct disadvantage for. I mean, look at them; they're horrible. Distinct disadvantage for Leinster to play in these. Ulster play in these sort of matches 7 or 8 times a year or a season there, so they should be able to play this one with more intelligence that Leinster did. But I think Leinster knew what they were doing, you know. So we'll see what.
We will
Ulster
see.
play.
Yeah.
It's sort of in their pack as well. McLaughlin had an average game. Toner wasn't in the game. McCormack not up to it, and Ulster. Credit to them, they played very well, and I mean their back row are outstanding. Chris Henry, very illegal but very effective. Got away with it.
How so illegal? You mentioned that at halftime as well.
He just went in and killed ball and did exactly what to do. Very cynical, but he was very good at what he did. And
when you have the weight of numbers coming behind him as he did, you get away with you can get away with blue murder, and it's an intensity that the Ulster side had. That if one guy was straying a little offside, there were so many guys coming around. It's very difficult for the referee then. So you have that opportunity to get away with it.
Well, Leinster's back row, just you know, O'Brien, McLaughlin, just not. Heaslip played okay tonight defensively as well, but blown away in the loose exchanges. That's where the damage was done.
You were questioning this notion of an Ulster renaissance. Now, I know, you know, but we have to make a judgment at some stage. They've now won, what is it, 5 out of 7 games this season? Yeah.
Well, I'll reserve judgment. I don't want to rain on the parade. They won against Leinster. Leinster, I thought, were the superior side there. Just unfortunately, we're heading into winter now. You're getting nights like that. If that was played on a half-decent pitch.
But how do you make them out to be the superior side? I thought Ulster, I mean, they controlled possession very well in the first half. They took their couple of opportunities.
Because it's the type of game that you have to play.
But are you saying that Leinster are superior because you think they're superior, or did they show that superiority tonight and it just didn't translate?
I mean, if that was, if Leinster had played with the win in the second half, they would have won this game. And
is that fair on Ulster?
I'm saying, I'm not raining anybody's parade.
You are.
It is clear. No, don't. They are. There's no question that Leinster. I mean, they scored when they had to.
But you're kind of suggesting that if Leinster really wanted to win the game, they would have.
No, they wouldn't be. Ulster were no question. Ulster were up for this game, but Leinster are a superior side there, and you'll see it. It'll reflect it. I mean, okay, we're only in October now at the moment, but when it comes into April or May, and it comes down to a semi-final in RDS or in Ravenhill, Leinster will beat Ulster and beat them well.
That's Ulster had a bit of a cheek to win tonight.
I think that's a little bit unfair, particularly when you say like Leinster scored when they had to. Well, they still lost, so they didn't actually quite score.
No, okay, they needed to get back, sort of before half time, and they got the try, 3 minutes. So they were charged with it. Yes, we have to score here. Let's score a try, and they scored a try. And then, okay, they struggled.
And didn't score again until the 79th minute.
Yes, but the game was over at that stage. Ulster got their kicks. Sean Byrne had missed the 3. Fitzy had alluded to that. So they said, okay, we're not, this is okay, we put this down to a bad night. Let's see, hold on, let me finish off. And
we're letting you finish, yeah.
And then they said, okay, let's not leave here without something. And they manufacture a try. And they come away with the bonus point.
They were kind of like Punch and Judy. They were toying with Ulster and said, we're going to allow you this one. I think it's a little bit unfair.
It is the conditions.
They had 40 minutes to win a match in the second half, and it took them 39 to get a bonus point. You think they should have won?
I'm just saying that though you win the toss, you win this game.
Ulster scored their first try, if I'm correct, 8 minutes into the second half. Leinster scored their first try with the wind. Was it 37 minutes into their half? So in other words, in that sense, that Ulster capitalised on the conditions within 8 minutes. It took Leinster 37 minutes. Ulster's line-out was outstanding in the conditions. Absolutely outstanding. You have to give huge credit to them. The ferocity and the game plan that they decided to play, they implemented the game plan excellently. By half-time, in other words, the coaching staff said, look, you guys have done a bloody good job so far. This is how we're going to manage the second half. And they went out and they played an excellent second half as well. So they deserve huge credit for it.
They absorbed pressure well in the first half. But like I said, prior to the first half, Leinster were told not to kick the ball. Leinster were told to play the ball in hand in the first half with the elements. Now, there was a reason Chaka told them. I don't know why, but Ulster played far more cute with the elements in their favour in the second half. But
these are well-paid, experienced professionals. I mean, if they get a piece of dud advice, presumably they're within their rights to ignore it when the battle is on.
We're making the assumption, of course, that that's what he did say.
Well, it didn't care. Sean Byrne is in charge of strategy. Cheka tells him, this is the game you play.
And in fairness, they didn't do a lot of kicking in that first half, which is slightly mysterious. Okay.